Hi there, this is David and welcome to the Top 10 Best RPG Towns NES Edition. Here I'll be recounting the best towns that I've come across in RPGs for the NES. Many times the most memorable towns end up being the first town in the game, but I have made an effort to try to specifically not highlight those, and instead focus on more unique towns scattered throughout these fantastic RPGs that I grew up with. So, let's get started scrolling down memory lane. Number 10, Shkolu of Star Tropics. This one's a fun little town, though a bit tropey. First of all, it's one of those women-only towns that JRPGs are so weirdly fond of. Then, when you enter the spa-like retreat, you find that no one is actually relaxing. Instead, of course, they're all Amazon warriors. A nice little touch is the female symbol surrounding the pool. However, since your protagonist, Mike, is obviously male, the only way to enter is to cross-dress and transvesticate the situation with the help of a fortune teller. Yeah, I know, it's strange, but totally worth it as you'll get your first upgraded weapon with more power and more range by talking to Broomhilda over here. She's the stuff of nightmares. I guess she's the queen or something, but damn does she look scary. Number 9, Minya of Ease. This town could very well be the most famous in the entire Ease series, appearing in both Ease 1 and 2 as well as Ease 4 Mask of the Sun and Dawn of Ease later on the SNES and TurboGrafx-16 respectively. But here I'm only going to focus on the 8-bit appearances. Minya is essentially the hub town of Ease 1 and 2, where Adol goes to rest up, hear gossip, buy equipment, and help out the townsfolk. The water spirit staff of Serana is hidden in the well here, and who can forget the fortune teller Sarah's sudden disappearance at the hands of the black-caped man? I mean, she was the whole reason why Adol was in Asteria in the first place. Number 8, Remulder of Dragon Warrior. You know that you've made it when you reach this town. The early game grind is done, and it's time to strive for the advanced equipment sold here so you can tackle all the mid-game dungeons and get to the meat of the game. The magic armor is especially nice because of the regeneration and resistances that it gives you, and the surrounding area is a great grinding spot to get ready for what the rest of the game holds. I remember when I first came here as a kid and I found the magic key merchant on the outskirts of town. I was thrilled because I could finally tackle the first side quest of sorts, opening up all those darned locked doors that I saw scattered throughout the world. Now I could finally get all those great treasures and rescue the princess. Number 7, Crescent Lake of Final Fantasy. Here we have a beautiful town and an information hub all rolled into one. The Circle of Sages has a way of guiding you throughout the game, so if you're stuck, you may want to keep coming back to hear what they have to say. The Sages also give you a further form of conveyance with the canoe, allowing you to traverse and dock at rivers, greatly reducing travel time. Also, the town is a bit of a turning point. It's when the game racks up the difficulty by adding damage tiles to already hard dungeons, but at the same time offers you a reprieve, because once you do reach here, you're on the cusp of receiving the airship, so you can explore the northern half of the world to your heart's content. Number 6, Leonport of Dragon Warrior 2. This town is special to me because it's the literal gateway to the rest of the world. You finally have your whole party together, but they don't exactly make it easy to get to. It's quite the trek, having to go through a rather large desert followed by the Dragon's Horn Tower until you finally reach the small port town. Here you're going to find a couple of interesting things, including your first real boss fight against gremlins attacking the Elder's daughter, the clothes hiding, one of the best armors in the game for your companions, and most importantly, a ship to finally explore the open seas so you can begin the real quest of gathering the crests in an open world environment, especially once you get the echoing flute from the Elder as well. Also, hysterically, in the SNES remake, this bitch is here. As a matter of fact, I am you streetwalker. Number 5, Amor of Final Fantasy III. Isn't it great when RPGs surprise and delight you? The first time that I played the game and realized that the floating continent wasn't the entire world, it really did shock me. I think leaving it and entering the lower world is one of the best parts of the game. However, the world is flooded, and once you make the waters recede, your heroes awaken in the watery town of Amor. Here we have a new place to explore, along with a whole new world and new jobs to boot. There are tons of hidden items scattered around the town, as well as the faux light warriors. I love the concept of 4 bumbling old fools masquerading as the real light warriors. It's pretty funny, and I'm surprised that more RPGs don't toy around with the idea. So, it's up to you to try to keep them from getting hurt. The only drag about this place is that the dungeon that immediately follows it are sewers, and we all know how much I love sewers. Number 4, Swan of Crystallis. For an action RPG released in the 80s, Crystallis has some great towns. From the peaceful starting town of Leaf, to the militant Dragonia, to the obligatory Amazonia. But none of them compare to Swan. In order to reach Swan, you have to ride on a dolphin, which is pretty great in and of itself, but when you're in the town, the real magic happens. You finally get an armor upgrade, which is great considering that you haven't had one in ages, and you get 2 magic spells! Barrier, right before going in, and then Change from Kensu after you solve one of the most convoluted puzzles in all of gaming. Basically, you run around town casting Paralyze on townsfolk who are already standing still with no indication whatsoever from the game. This is one of those oh my guide moments, in a time when you really didn't have guides. Thank God for Nintendo Power saving the day though. Number 3, New Town of Dragon Warrior 3. This game has some of the best towns in the entire genre. I could do an entire video just recounting the top 10 best towns in this game. They're all so unique. For those unaware, the world is based upon Earth, with each town representing a different culture. From the deserts of Isis, to the islands of Japan, to the kingdom of Romali, they're all just so fantastically done, but only one can make the list. Newtown represents the exploration of the New World and the establishment of America, more specifically, New York. It starts off as nothing but a barren field, but then, as you bring your immigrant merchant along, he begins to build up the town into one of the most cosmopolitan cities in the world. However, a cool little American Revolution takes place in the city as the merchant ends up ruling the town like a king and the common folk spark a rebellion. It's a great addition to an already great game, and it fleshes out the world and really does show that Dragon Warrior 3 takes place in an age of exploration. Number 2, Podunk of Earthbound Beginnings. Towns in all the Earthbound games are a joy to explore because they're just so massive and realistic. Whereas other games like to throw you into a dungeon for the action, here, the towns are where the action is, and nothing expresses this more than in Nintendo's hometown of Podunk. For those unaware, Podunk is actually a word meaning a place in the middle of nowhere. That's why our hometown was named after it in Secret of Evermore too. However, that's kind of far from the truth considering that there's so much more to do here than in any other town in the game. After his psychic abilities awaken in his house, he ventures out into town where the mayor enlists him to rescue Pippi, a local girl who's gone missing in the cemetery. Then, after rescuing her, the police send you off on a mission to the zoo to calm the wild animals. And amazingly, all this happens while still in the confines of Podunk. And finally, number 1, Endor of Dragon Warrior 4. All roads lead to Endor. Well, at least they do in this game. I love how the designers set Endor up as a hub town, a bastion of freedom and capitalism that you can know and depend on. You first hear of Endor in Chapter 2, when Alina struggles to go there in order to prove her worth as a fighter by winning the tournament. It's then reintroduced in Chapter 3, when Tulun wishes to migrate there and open up a shop. In the 4th chapter, Mara and Nera barely escape with their lives as they flee to Endor. When Chapter 5 finally rolls around and you're thrust out into the harsh world alone, it's a comfort when NPCs mention that Endor is just a short distance to the south. It gives you a feel for where you are in the world, and it allows you to orientate yourself. And this is especially important in a time when if you wanted to look at a world map, you had to look at a poster hanging on the wall. Well, that's it for my top 10 best NES towns. What are your favorite towns of the NES era? Do you agree or disagree? And what towns would you like to see featured in the SNES edition? Let me know in the comments, and as always, have a good day.